Hi, my name is Jay Kenobi with Insurance 365 located in Norfolk, Nebraska. Hey, thanks for clicking on here today and watching with us, sharing stories, sharing the execution plans, sharing theories on retirement. This is some great work that people need to dive into, understand where you're at, where you're trying to go to, and just get information on the various topics. I've heard people say anywhere from 250 to 300 topics are thrown at a person at retirement, and I would agree. When you look at all the different types of life insurance you need to deal with, when you look at all the health insurance you need to deal with, annuities, mutual funds, IRAs, simple IRAs, tax codes, unbelievable what is all thrown at you at retirement. So, welcome to the show tonight. I appreciate you. And I think you're going to find you just sit back and relax, watch this. You're going to get a better understanding of how things work. We're going to go through a lot of examples, and I'm going to follow a format where I share a screen, but then I'm going to jump back and forth as well to the screen here. So we'll bring this into play, that we'll actually do some things to share with you on here as well. So we'll bring this in. And I have to tell you, first off, if you want an in-depth analysis explained very closely at your own time, I have a book, Retirement from Chaos to Confidence, published this year. Excited about that. It's available on Amazon. It's available in my office. This goes through various topics. When you think about this, knowledge is power, investments, 401ks, annuities, Medicare, life insurance, long-term care, auto and homeowners insurance and liability. A lot of topics, lots of discussions. I know it's challenging. You have to trust somebody. I get it. I've been in the business a long time, worked with thousands of people, still do, obviously. And it's a wonderful business, and it's wonderful to empower people with knowledge. With that being said, I'll share screen here and we'll go through and I'll just start the presentation, kind of follow a format, give some examples along the way. And again, thank you for joining here. So I'm going to share screen here and take a look right here. Okay. As I mentioned, my name is Jay Kenobi and I'm the founder of Insurance 365 here in Norfolk, Nebraska. Now, if we can take a look here, this is the team I work with. This is a team I'm very grateful for. Wonderful people that we've worked with over the years, trained, a culture of expectations, demand on customers' excellence, just a great, simple, yet humble team that works for you. I think sincerity is the number one thing. You have to have a group of people who sincerely get to take the time to work with you. These two right here, Angela and Sarah, they are the healthcare experts. So anyone in individual healthcare, all the way up to Medicare, Medicare Advantage, drug plans, all of those types of things. These are the people who work with you. They're great, and that is all they do is those fields. So healthcare is an ever-changing environment, as you know, and ever-changing on the regulations, ever-changing on the prices, even unfortunately. And they're what we call a broker, so they offer a lot of different companies with a lot of different angles. They will talk to you. They will sit down with you. They will email you, and you'll consistently get them. I can't stress that enough. People come into us and say, I don't know who I bought from, and I don't know why the charge is going up. It's your major medical health care people. Go to people that you can sit down with, talk to, and be consistent with the same voice and the same person. That's what they do. These four here, Erica, Steph, Kenny, and Kale, all of them work on the home and auto side of things. So home and auto, ATVs, motorcycles, liability, they are there to make sure that our customers, with their financial responsibilities, their financial obligations, have the right kind of property casualty insurance in place. Again, a broker with many carriers. Myself and Adrian are the two that work on the retirement planning. The two of us work with a lot of people on subjects such as taxes, long-term care, annuities, mutual funds, 401ks, any type of investment, banking, buying, selling, real estate, inheritance, just a wide plethora of subjects that are more retirement age, Social Security maximization. So, nobody knows everything. Nobody's perfect. There's a lot of great people in this industry. Um, there's a lot of great people in all of these industries I spoke about. And, I just try to get as much out there as we can. We do seminars, we do webinars, we do podcasts. Just try to get you as much information as you can because it's such a critical time in your life. So, you want to stay on top of as much as you can. So these are great people. They will all answer the phone. They will answer their cell phones. And that's really a sincerity that I think just you have to have when you're talking about getting at this age. It's so important. So let's kind of look at years ago versus today. And I talk about this. I'm the age where I'm at. I'm in my mid 50s. Years ago, when you worked with people, a lot of times you saw a person work for one person, one entity. That's very common, and a lot of times they had a pension. That was a common thing, and they had Social Security. So when they got to retirement, they relied on the company pension and Social Security. Today, pension's not used nearly as much. I think the education field uses it a lot. Uh, Patrolmen, state patrolmen, state workers, county workers, they have the ability more of pensions. There are some in employers, but very, very few. So years ago, this was kind of what you did. You went to work for someone and you spent 30 years working and you received a golden watch and a pension. And it was a wonderful thing. Today, we just are so different. Today, when I look at retired couples and work with them, they have multiple employers. They have little to no pensions. They do have Social Security and they worry about Social Security. They want to know every fact and facet of Social Security, and I don't blame them, and we will get into that as we go forward. They save their own money through a 401k, a 403b, a simple, a Roth, those type of things through their employer. And then a lot of people, this bottom one, just as a word we forget to use. Hey, do you have a brokerage account? And people are, oh, another thing? Yeah, another thing. It's a brokerage account is the ability to just have some money set aside with investing, and you really just have it set aside to for that certain day when you need money. You never know with health. You never know with children needing money. You never know when things go south, or maybe you have an opportunity. They could go south and be bad, and they may be a great opportunity, and you just need some money. So people have brokerage accounts, and not everybody, but it is nice when they do have it. So yesterday versus today, again, just more complicated. Just simply more complicated today. Yesterday's retirement, when we look back, it was a lot of pensions, personal savings, and Social Security. Pretty simple. Today, it's Social Security as an income is about 36.5. Social Security is about 36% of people's income. This is an interesting one. Earnings. I always like the earnings part because I do notice just the people that I work with so many times will tell me, Jay, I retired from here. I'm now going here, and I actually love it. I love to hear the stories about I'm working for the church, I'm mowing the golf greens, I'm driving a truck. I work for Saint so and so, and I bring people around town. Part of it is I think you just don't maybe work is you're not under the pressure. And part of it is you just now are doing something you like. Woodworking, crafts, religious viewpoints. They work somewhere they want to. So earnings is a big point of this. We still, when it comes to retirement income, we still have a lot of people retire and get a part-time job. Asset income is typically going to be real estate. If you're fortunate and have had storage units or car washes or commercial real estate, things of that nature, that's about 12% of people's income. Pension is down to 18%. So what was 30 or 35% is now down to 18. And again, if you remove teachers from this, that would be that number would change drastically. The state teacher associations are very popular with pensions. And then others, 2.7%. So others just kind of the lucky inheritance club, I like to call it. Parents and children, another thing I want to talk to you about is if you just go back and think about what did it look like yesterday when you talked to parents? Yesterday meaning 20, 30 years ago. They were oftentimes concerned about a legacy. They were oftentimes concerned about grandchildren, and they wanted to leave a family business. 20 years ago, you had a lot of second generation business. Today, just think of your last holiday. Just think back to your last holiday. Your kids come home and you look at it and go, my kids are better off than I was. My kids are better off than I am, than I currently am. My kids are better off. The kids, their kids go to school where they want. The parents are making more money. They have 3 times the house of mom and dad. So today's a lot different. I always joke when you watch your grandkids walk in, they've got the Apple Watch, they've got the cell phones, they have a $6 or $10, latte in their hand, and you're like still drinking your black coffee thinking, what in the world? Yeah, it's different. Today's different. And how many of those kids of yours are taking over your business? Not as popular as it once was. Being self-employed and taking over the family business that mom or dad had is not nearly as relevant or happens as often as it once did. So what does retirement income look like for you? Well, the first thing when we talk about retirement income, you have to stop and think, okay, are we talking Social Security? Are we talking 401ks? It's everything. It's all of it. I mean, when you retire, I always tell people it really isn't this difficult. You have to take what you're making, and there's 2 sources that are going to make up of that, and it's really Social Security and your savings have to make up what you made. Because if you were making a certain amount of money, you want to retire making the same certain amount of money. But who makes this simple for you? How many times don't you sit down just with a guy like me and walk away and go, I don't know what he was talking about? A lot. Or you meet with them one time and never again. A lot. So when you look at retirement income, you have to ask yourself, how long will it last? How many years is your retirement income guaranteed? It's a tough question. How many years is retirement income guaranteed? Is this till you're, I love when people say to me, my dad did it all right. He worked out just fine. I'm like, when did he die? 72. Well, I would think it worked out. At 72, I would assume he didn't run out of money. But a great percentage of people run out of money. But if you die early, yeah, you probably did. So you have to ask yourself, my retirement income, how long will it last? What does it look like? And then the fear creeps in. What if I live to 88? What if I live to 90? Am I living my last years in poverty? Could it go down in value? Could what I have go down? Talk about this a lot in the book. Can things go south? Can things position where they're going backwards and you're like, uh-oh, this is not looking good. I'm living longer and my values are going down. Concerned about running out of money. I don't think I've ever met with anyone that hasn't been. And I mean, I meet with people that have 1 million, 10 million, 20 million. It doesn't matter if you have $20 million. They'll tell you, I don't know if it's going to last, Jay. And I'm like, you have $20 million. Well, I don't know if it's going to last. I always think to myself, how are you living? Are you spending like 20,000 a month? But even the wealthy people concerned about running out of money. Survivorship benefits. I always think back to one of the greatest examples I had, survivorship benefits. I had a man years and years ago when I was not even in the retirement side of business. He took out a plan with no survivorship benefits. He got one check and he died. The company kept the balance. This was back in like 02, 03. I was 30 years old. And his wife said to me, I hope you don't sell that product. And I'm like, what product is that even? No survivorship benefits. Boy, is this big. Oh, is this big. And I mean, I see this mistake weekly. You have to work with somebody who explains to you the pros and cons of survivorship benefits. And it's a different world if you love somebody for 30 years or if you're single. It's a different world. Survivorship benefits. Protected if a health event happens. Yeah. Are you protected if a health event happens? Health event. Yeah. Home health care. How popular is home health care today? Oh my. How popular is home health care today? It's very popular. How about assisted living? Very popular. Nursing home? Never going to be popular. Don't know how else to say it. It's never going to be a popular call. But does it happen? Yeah. We're going to go through all these tonight. Is your retirement income? Can you create a pension with your IRA? Do people even know how? Do people even know how? Social Security first started in 1935. In 1935, you were entitled to receive full benefits at 65. What was the life expectancy in 1935? It was 64.5. Today, it's obviously changed. This is some of the challenges in Social Security. Plain and simple. Let's talk about Social Security. Plain and simple. I'm going to use round numbers for simple math here. But Social Security, look when it started. You were dying before you received it. Now, is Social Security going to be here? Oh, I've heard the pros, I've heard the cons, I've heard terrible stories. I don't think anybody can answer that. But there's a lot of money going in, and they're having people draw it later. Well, let's just go through Social Security. Just a nice, simple Social Security. When's the first year you can take it? 62. So 62 is the first year. So 62 is the first year you can take it. About 43% of people take it at 62. Okay? About 43% of people take it at 62. 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. Very popular number. And let's just say 70 right there. Okay. A lot of people take it here. What are the rules generally? I'm just going to say, I'm going to just think of it this way. Every year you defer Social Security, it goes up by what? About 6%. Experts will say 6.2. We could argue about it all day long, and I don't think we would argue concepts here today. But it'd be about 6%. So if you were $2,000 at 62, at 63, it's about 6% higher. 64, it's about 6% higher. This is the one here. They call it this acronym. You hear it a lot. FRA, FRA. Call a Social Security office and you will hear FRA a lot. Full retirement age. So a couple of concepts here. Generally, 6%. After 67, it'll be about 7% that it goes up if you defer it. Now you have to look at these numbers and you have to talk and you have to have an example. Like I can tell you it's not this difficult if you just call and walk through the numbers. But the impossible part is for someone like me to tell you exactly when to take it. Because guess what it's all based on? You won or lost based on death. I just lost one of my favorite customers yesterday. We had Social Security talks for years. He took it at 62. I'm really glad today he took it at 62 because he didn't make it to 70. When you're going to die is the answer you have to have when you meet with someone like me. And let's face it, none of us have the answer. So you have to understand concepts. I love it when everybody, this morning's couple I met with, they said, "You're the first person not to tell me to take it at 70." I said, "Well, you told me you're living to 75. Well, I told them that too. First of all, no one knows. But what you have to do is arm yourself with the understanding of how it works. So if you take it at 62, you should keep your earned income below 24,000. Okay, you should keep your earned income because if you don't, you will get a withholding from your Social Security. Now, how does that work? Okay, again, let's remember this number, around 24,000. If you make more than 24,000 and you turned on your Social Security, so let's say you made 44,000. That means you made 20,000 more than the limit. If you made 20,000 more, they're going to try to withhold 10. And they're holding 10 from your number. So if you were at age 62 and you said I'm going to make Social Security of $2,000, you were going to get 24,000. It says I'm going to get 24,000. But the problem is you were 20,000 over. So now they're going to withhold 10 from your 24, you end up with 14. So in this scenario, you're ending up with about $14,000. Not feeling the best. Not feeling the best at all. So there's frustration there. Know the rules. 63, 64, 65. This all applies. This is your earnings limitation. So now, do I have people that turn on Social Security and work and make 20 or 25,000 all the time? It's okay. You get double the payments. I had a lady in here last week that was making $23,000, and I said, "Why don't you turn on your Social Security?" And she says, "Oh, I've been told not to." I said, "Do you have any children?" She says, "No." I said, "Do you have a husband?" She says, "No." I said, "Well, here's a thought. Maybe turn it on and earn your 23 and earn your Social Security." And she goes, "Oh, I never thought about that. Everybody told me to wait till 70. I said, "How's your health?" She says, "Terrible." You have to, again, we're here tonight to think about different things. So I like this example to explain, very simple. Some people do wait till 70. Yeah, they have other incomes. Remember, when you reach full retirement age, 67, and again, for some of you, it's 66 and 10 months. I get it. It's not going to be exact. When you reach this, you have no earning limitation. This is gone. This 24,000 is gone. So at 67, you can take Social Security and earn as much as you want. But if you defer Social Security, again, 7%. Lots of education on Social Security. I could spend hours on it if you would like. But you have to give me a call to do that. I'm not going to do it today. All right. Why are so many people concerned about running out of money? They procrastinate. They don't want to face the problem, hoping someone will do it for them. They don't understand accumulation versus distribution. Lack of knowledge as to what's available, no plan for their money. They met with a person, maybe never met with a person, maybe met with a person who didn't explain it, who maybe wasn't a good teacher. So they run out of money. All right. Accumulation versus distribution. Accumulation versus distribution. I like to think of it this way. When you're working from 18 to 60, 62, 63, you really are taking a lot of chances. You have a risk reward mentality. You want to accumulate money, and you generally are pretty systematic about putting things away. The second chapter of life, and we hope it's a long one, but it's not always. We think differently. We think about the distribution of money. And we think about reducing, eliminating risk, and making withdrawals. Pretty simple. You just hit a different chapter of life. It's okay. One of the things we do, kind of to get your mindset around this, is we show you how to create income for life and Social Security statements. Social Security projections. We want to show you actuarially how long your money will last, design an income stream that will not run out. And I like 100% survivorship benefits in most cases, not all. Here's a common example. Somebody came in, had a household income of $5,700 a month. They had a pension. The husband had a pension of $3,000. The husband's Social Security was $1,800. $900 was the wife's Social Security. So you have to ask this question. This is always one not many people want to ask you, but I ask it all the time because I know there's not a client of mine going to live forever. What happens upon the husband's death? The wife gets the higher of the two Social Security checks. Yesterday, I stopped at my local gas station, dropped some things off, and a guy said to me, he says, Jay, I lost my wife. Do I get two now? I said, no. I said, are you sure? I said, I'm sure. I'm sure. You get the higher of the two, not both. I still get about 10 to 15% of people say, I get both, right? No. You get the higher of the two Social Security checks, not both. The pension had no survivorship benefits. Therefore, it's gone when the husband passes. Imagine this lady living with the husband and having $5,700 a month and now going down to $1,800. Imagine the financial remorse of, well, I didn't take the time to watch a webinar. I didn't really like meeting with anybody because they were kind of salesy. Are you crazy? I don't understand. Do you bring your car to a dentist? I mean, it's the same. I went into retirement and I just didn't want to know about things. Oh my gosh. And here you are living on 1,800 versus 57 because you never met with anyone to talk about these things. That is absolutely irresponsible. It just is. When you pass, you will leave your spouse with 71% of the bills. I ask people this rhetorical question quite frequently. What are your bills going to be upon the death? And one of them will always say, well, 50%. I go, no. Because the courthouse doesn't send you 50% of your taxes upon the death of your spouse for your property. The car insurance doesn't go down 50%. There are some things go down, but the cable bill doesn't tell you, the internet service doesn't say, hey, you lost your husband. Internet is now $50. It was 100, it's 50. We feel bad. No. You have to know this. And here's another thing. The Social Security office you need to call. I could sit on here and tell you story after story. I've had 4 people this year who were widows that I had to sit down with, and they're like, what? Yeah. We called the Social Security office and they should have been getting benefits the entire time and deferring theirs. 4 times this year. And they're like, well, Jade, why didn't they call me? I said, do you think the government's going to call you and tell you what to do? Do you really think upon the death and they send you that $500 death benefit or $250, whatever it is? Do you think a representative is going to call and say, well, your husband was 65, you're 62, we should keep taking his and defer yours till 70? I had a guy this year that did not take his wife's, and his wife's was very high. He was waiting. And we called, we did the numbers. They're wonderful people to work with if you talk to them. You have to schedule an appointment, I know. But it's really, really important when you're a widow to talk to them. This guy was going to get a couple thousand a month. The problem was he hadn't done it for the last 4 years. He says, well, they're going to pay me for another year and then I have to turn my Social Security on. I says, yes, another year. He goes, that many thousand a month for a year? I said, yeah. And I said, do you realize what you lost though? He says, no. I say, you don't want to know. Social Security is very, very important. Case study number 2, Sally comes in, she wants help. She was turning 73 and will have to start taking her RMD, required minimum distribution. This is the government. This is the smallest amount of money you must withdraw from your qualified accounts. Qualified is typically 401ks, 403bs, simple IRAs, something you have through work, Roth IRAs. Now, keep in mind, there's no taxation on Roths. But when I talk about qualified monies, that's what I'm talking about. Most things through an employer. Let's leave it that way. Leave it simple. So her RMD was going to be $8,000 a year. And of course, she was told, take your RMD, take your RMD. And I said, well, are you sure? How are things going? She says, well, I'm barely getting by. And I said, oh, you're barely getting by, and your representative is telling you to take the RMD. I do the car and the gasoline. She had the car. It's the IRA. What gasoline was she pumping in there? Stocks. And the stockbroker says, take $8,000. And I said, is he given any guarantee how long that'll last? What if you last to 90? What if you last to 95? Well, there's no guarantee. I said, I know. That's why I asked you. I said, you want to look at something better? We shopped out a different solution, a different angle, and that's why you're on here tonight, is to learn different angles. We shopped it out and got her a payment instead of 8,000. We got her a payment of 18,000. And I said, it'll never run out. She says, how? Then I had to go into that. But isn't 18,000 in income better than 8,000? And 18,000 is guaranteed. And then they usually give you this deer in the headlight look. Well, who's making money on me? I'm like, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Do you want 18 or do you want 8? Do you want guarantees for life? Beyond principal and interest, guarantees? Well, yeah. And then they always ask that. They think they're getting slighted somehow. Guarantees. Case study number 3. Here's an example I run across a lot. I say sometimes this place could be an orphanage. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just what it is. An orphanage is a place that takes in all kinds of people who have had very little service. So here comes Tom. And Tom is one of these guys that had an old whole life policy. Now, I like whole lives. I don't have a problem with them. A lot of people just badger them to death and act like they're the worst thing ever. I don't have a problem with whole lives. I think a lot of times people that badger them are people that just don't know much about them. My personal opinion. I mean, I don't sell a lot of whole lives, but I don't have a problem with them either. Whole life is a farm bucket. So here you got a farm bucket. And this guy, he purchased a whole life policy in his 30s, and he had a death benefit of $130,000. And here sits Tom at the top. And Tom put money in that bucket when he was 30 years old, 31, 35, 37, 40, 45. Over the years, all of his premium didn't go out the bottom of the bucket. I always say this is your expenses, this is your mortality. When you put money in a whole life policy, or shall I say a permanent policy, which we'll learn more about tonight. When you put money in a permanent policy, let's say in this example, Tom put $100 a month. His mortality, his cost of insurance for the 130 might have been $40. So $40 went out and 60 stayed in. And he did that over the years and over the years and over the years. And then this cash value had a return on it, maybe 3 to 4%. So what did he have here? He had $62,000. He had $62,000 in cash value. But Tom said, Jay, I have these daughters and I don't have a wife. And the daughters are worried when I get sick, mom's not here anymore. And when mom's not here anymore, my caregiver's gone. And I said, I've been down this conversation many times, Tom, many times. Life insurance was not the concern. When he was young and had two daughters at home and a spouse and a mortgage and a college tuition facing him, he bought a whole life. And over the years, his whole life did fine. There's a lot of fine companies out there that'll talk to you about whole life. So what he says, what do we do with this? And I said, well, not your concern is the life insurance anymore. And he said, no, I have other things. I have annuities and mutual funds and stocks. He says, and I have a nice house. So he goes, I'm worried about my care. And I said, well, let's do an exchange. And we can roll over, tax-free, this 62,000 into here. And we can purchase a hybrid long-term care. Hybrid long-term care. The hybrid long-term care gave him $185,000 of long-term care and a death benefit of $92,000. And the policy was paid up. So he didn't even have to pay the premium anymore. And the rest of his life, he got long-term care of $185,000. And then when people see this, the first thing they say, well, Jay, that's not enough. I said, well, then if it's not enough, then put premium in, put the $100 in, put the $200 in. But you have to understand, don't look at, it's not all negative. You went from zero long-term care to 185 and stop payment. So take the $100 if you want it, put it in there. Maybe this will raise it to 250. But talk to someone. Comprehend, explore. There's great resources out there to reduce your risk. In Tom's case, he had a lot of risk. Never going to get married, he said. Fine. Did he lose some death benefit? Sure, but death benefit wasn't important. Wonderful, wonderful way to look at things. Solutions here, what we do is we run you detailed maps. Pretty simple. How it works, we look at your Social Security, we look at your pensions, IRAs, 403Bs, brokerage accounts, savings accounts, and we create for you an income for life report. You need an income for life report. This starts to answer. Common example, household income of 120,000. Problem, their combined Social Security 72. We have to find a solution for 50. This is everyday language. Jay, my household income was 120, our Social Security 72. Where am I going to come up with $50,000 a year? Because my spouse thinks we need to keep working. I say, have you done an income report? I have no idea what you're talking about. And I say, well, then let's do one. Social Security, find a solution, equals the 120. It's not complicated. Here's an example. Employment, 72 for Tony. Elizabeth, 48. So they make 120. Social Security is 42. Hers is 30. Oh, we need funding of around 561. And there you have it. There's your 120. Oh, so Tony, Elizabeth, do you have 561 anywhere? Well, Jay, where's that supposed to come from? Anywhere you have it. Could be savings, could be CDs, could be 401ks, 403Bs, ESOPs, profit sharing. selling land, selling real estate, inheritance from your spouse. Could be anywhere. But the point is, you can retire if you have 561. People go, wow. Now, what happens a lot of times is people will say, huh, I'm not quite there yet. But in a year or two, or with 8% return and so much contribution, I'll be there. And I'll say, well, then retire in a year. Come see me. Okay. Here's always what we have to show, though, as well. Because so many people come to me and say, Jay, do I have proper life insurance? And their answer they want me to say is, no, get rid of it. Depends. The problem happens, what if a spouse dies? You're going to lose Social Security. See this here? A spouse died. They were 44 and 31. And then a spouse died, so they only got the 44. So now they have a $31,000 loss. Life insurance can be great, can be very expensive. Some people need it, some people don't. One of the things I always tell people to do is just do a net worth assessment every year. Just sit down, do a net worth assessment. List your long-term care, list your life insurance, list your 401ks, list your assets. Just a simple, nice thing. RMDs, we talked about them earlier. They're a source of income in retirement that many people rely on. The problem is they'll run out eventually if you don't shield yourself from some catastrophes that are out there. There's three primary, I call them the big three. There's three primary sources retirees use: mutual funds, CDs, and annuities. I like to work with the one that gives guarantees beyond principal and interest. That's what I like to work with. The problem I see a lot, I tell people all the time, you insure your vehicle and your house. If I could sell Social Security insurance, would people buy it every single day? So why don't you insure your own pension or your own retirement account? I can. Yeah, there's ways to do it. RMDs, how do I calculate them? Well, very simple. It's all made by the government. It's the rules. IRS mandated withdrawal from a qualified account must be taken by April 1st of the following year. You turn 73. That changes with presidents. Sometimes it's 71, 73, 73 and a half. Again, concepts here, people. What they definitely do is they take a look at December 31st, your qualified money, and divide it by this number here. So we'll give you an example. John just turned 73. In July is $200,000. IRA balance on December 31st is $200,000. So his IRA car has gone up and down. At December 31st, it's 200,000. Distribution period from RMD table is 26.5. So 200,000 divided by 26.5. That is his RMD. That is what he has to take out, $7,547. John's RMD payment is $7,547. His single lifetime payment is $17 if he wants it. His joint and survivor is $14,700. Know your options, people. Know your options. Life insurance. I can't explain enough how important it is to talk about your life insurance. Exes are not good beneficiaries. No, that usually doesn't go over well. Okay. Life insurance, understanding how yours works, why it works this way. I have so many people that I interview and I say, how much life insurance do you have? And they look at each other and they're off $200,000-$300,000. It's crazy. The wife will say 100, the husband will say 300. They don't, and then I'm like, is it term or whole life? Is it universal? I don't know. Term life insurance, very simple. You're up here, put money in. No money ever stays in the bucket. No money ever stays in the bucket. If you give it $100, $100 falls out the bottom for mortality. Term life insurance is either 10, 20, 30 years. Now they're trying to make 40. Okay? You lock it in. I like to say you're renting. You are renting a policy. That's what you're doing. There's no cash value in it. At some point it'll run out. I like term life insurance. I have no problem with any life insurance. I like life insurance. Do a lot of it. Which one do I prefer? Depends who you're talking to. Every situation's different. Term insurance is ideal for people that say, Jay, I have other investments and I have debt and I want the cheapest form of life insurance, term life insurance. Permanent can be called universal, can be called whole life. There's even variable universal. I like to call those permanent because they build water in the bucket. They build cash value. And then you have to know, do I use option one or option two? It's worth the meaning. Funeral trusts, second to dies. Second to die policy is very popular for people over 60. Very, very popular. I always say attorneys love them. When are the taxes due on everything? First death or second death? Second. So a second to die policy allows you to put a heavy amount of insurance on the second death because that's when the kids get taxed. So instead of paying these policies, sometimes I'll see a husband take 500 and a wife take 500 and they put it on each other. And then I say, you have an estate of 3 million and now you just left her 500,000. You just made the estate bigger. Not always the best idea. Sometimes you just got to talk through it. Understand your options with life insurance. Okay? Understand your options. Permanent builds cash value. The horror stories on permanent life insurance, they're out there everywhere because people don't review them, is they run out of water, and when they run out of water, they become obsolete. You have to make sure and have enough water in the bucket. You have to know, if I'm 90 years old and I have a $50,000 policy, how much is the company charging me for that $50,000? Worst story I ever had was I had a customer paying $200,000 a year for a policy, and it was going out. There was no water left. The insurance company was raising the price. He was not my customer, thank goodness. But he brought it into me and said, can you fix this? Well, they needed $200,000 for another years of insurance. And I said, how old's your mom? He said, 99. She's at home mowing the lawn right now. I said, oh. I mean, that gets a little sticky. That gets a little heated. You have to review your life insurance policies. You have to understand them. You have to comprehend them. You have to understand the commitment. And then I've had people come in and say, Jay, I was diagnosed 3 months ago. They told me I have a year to live. And sometimes you have to tell them, like, it's okay not to pay. And they go, what? It's okay not to pay on my policy. I'm dying, Jay. I told you I'm dying. And I say, relax. You have to know how these things work. You have to understand what the water in the bucket does or doesn't do for you. Very, very important. Medicare. Okay. Medicare, there's a whole chapter in my book. There's people in my office handle this. I'm not going to get into a lot of Medicare stuff. There's so many regulations on Medicare. I don't even want to speak about it. But it's really important that you understand you don't buy it from artificial intelligence. You don't buy it from a call center, and you don't buy it from someone who doesn't help you. It's your major medical at a time in your life when you're using it. You ever sit down and just talk to older people and what's new this week? They start telling you about doctor visits. I call my mom. What's up? What's up this week? What's going on? Oh, I went and saw this doctor. I went and saw the hearing doctor. I went and saw the knee surgeon. So all of these things you have, chiropractor, surgeries, eyes, ears, and you're going, and then people, they come in, well, can't you help me now? I'm like, no, you didn't buy it here. Well, can't you just be my agent? Doesn't work that way. Companies don't do that. Have a home base for your healthcare. Have a home base. Have a place that you know you can call in and explain your frustrations of premium increases, or you change checking accounts because of fraud, and allow them to help you update your contract with prescription drugs or Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement. Allow them to help you. Well, Jay, I had fraud and I can't figure out how to change my payment. Can't help you, not your agent. Time and time again, we have these conversations. So Medicare is so important. This has kind of been my guideline for everything. It's this book here. It's a personal financial inventory. As you work with me, I give this to you. It's not cheap. I'm not just going to give it to you for free. I'm not going to give it to you for just coming in and talking to me. No, it's for people who want to do business. And you put all these things in here, and when something happens to you, like my good friend and insured last night, he's got the brown book. His son now has it. And you go through there and you make the calls and you make the calls and what's planned and what's not planned. It's important you understand so many things, so many concepts. I'm going to touch on one more because I just didn't really get a chance to touch on it much, and that's long-term care. How does it work? Allow me just in the last few minutes here to explain one more concept to you. And this is an important one. Not everybody buys it. Not everybody should buy it. Absolutely not. But long-term care, there's two theories, excuse me. There's traditional. And again, I'll go in depth with you on your situation. But for right now, we showed an example before of a hybrid with Tom. Traditional, if you give the company $1, they're taking that full dollar and buying you benefits. And the benefits are home health care, assisted living, nursing home, that type of thing. They're taking your $1 and they might be giving you long-term care benefits of $3. A lot of times, tax break up front, benefits come tax-free. They cannot lock in your premiums, and your $1 is going to turn into $3. Here's the downside. About 35% of people will just die. They'll just die without using it. And people will say, Jay, my wife bought this from you and she paid for 25 years and she just died. And I say, yep. I'm not happy about that either, but that is what happened. That is the downside. Over here, if you give that same company $1, the benefits are life insurance and long-term care. And about 40 cents goes to life insurance and 60 cents goes to long-term care. So instead of getting $3 of benefits for long-term care, not so much. They're going to give $3, but they're going to give maybe $1.80, $1.70, and then they're going to give more over here to equal the $3. You following that? They're going to give you long-term care, and they're going to give you life insurance. So they're going to put about $2.30 over here. Either way, you're getting $3 of benefits. But what they do is they give about 40% of that dollar that you gave goes to life insurance. Now, what does that do? It reduces your long-term care benefits by 40%, but it does guarantee you that when you die, the insurance company's paying somebody. You're either going to die or get sick. Traditional just covers you for more long-term care benefit, but it doesn't cover you if you just die. I appreciate you being with me this evening, this morning, mid-afternoon, whenever you watch this. Reach out to me. Go to my website, go to insuranceagency365.com, scroll around, let me a message. Tell me you want to meet. Tell me you want to talk over the phone. Tell me you want to talk in person. Doesn't matter to me. But I hope this gives you a good basis. Lots of subjects. Incredible. And my book goes further in depth. But whatever it is, we're here to help. We enjoy helping people. And you are just one of the many people that when it comes to financial literacy, you can't get enough. So thank you very much. Enjoyed it. You take care and hope to hear from you soon.